Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 18th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see that we are still dealing with this atmospheric river all the way from the Hawaiian Islands to the bottom left, and we've got this big ridge to our south, and we've got the lowered heights off to our north and west, and like gears in a machine, we are caught in between, and that warm, moist flow comes back across us. So taking a look, you can see there's a lot of lenticular cloud activity going on across some of our mountains here across the region, especially across the Oregon Cascades, where you might get a clear view of that if you're right on the south side. Make yourself a nice time lapse here. If you see any of those images out here across the region, send them to me on Patreon if you would. So we'll take a look at what's coming here over the next few days. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as always as we go through the video here this morning. Now, to expand upon what I talked about a little bit yesterday, 500 millibar constant pressure chart is a mainstay of the upper air chart. So if meteorologists could only look at one chart, or if you want to start your forecast, a 500 millibar chart is by far the best choice, and you can dive into further details as you go. But you can see that when I talk about polar vortex, I'm talking about lowered heights there. And when I say 540 and 500 millibars, you just add a zero to that. It would be 5,400 meters, and that would be the constant pressure surface. And of course, underneath the heat dome, it's warmer, less dense air. The heights are higher. So that would be, for example, 5,820 millibars. So you can imagine this being over the Southwest USA and this being the Gulf of Alaska, and we're in the Pacific Northwest. We're caught in between there, and you get this big temperature gradient, and then you generate what is known, of course, as a thermal wind. The Earth wants to balance out this big temperature gradient that's across the planet, and I'll show you how that works here, starting with this next slide, and let's just jump into it. So I get questions about why doesn't the wind just move from high to low pressure? And it does, but there's another force working on it known as the Coriolis force. So as it moves from high to low, it tugs it to the right, and then you get what is known as the geostrophic wind, and that moves these winds at 500 millibars parallel to the isobars out there. So that is why when you look at these upper air patterns, the winds are generally kind of paralleling these isobars. At the surface, it's a little bit different, and you can kind of see the surface pressures over there. Again, high to low, the pressure gradient force tries to move from high to low, but of course you got the Coriolis force, and then you've got friction down low. You got terrain features and whatnot that kind of work on that wind, and then it kind of tries to cross these isobars a little bit more. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know what you guys think below. Hopefully that helps you understand things a little bit more when I talk about this stuff on a daily basis. And now taking a look at that, again, you can see the higher heights here across the Southwest USA, and then you see the lower heights across Alaska like I talked about, and that's what's generating this strong flow back up into the Pacific Northwest. If I put that into motion, you can see that ridge really get established across the Southwest USA, and we're not the Southwest flow is not going anywhere quickly here, as you can see up into the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be dealing with some systems probably all the way on in through this upcoming weekend, and maybe on in through next week here as well. And in fact, let's just jump back out to the artificial intelligence look at this, and we'll go out a bit further into the forecast and kind of see that ridge hang on. But we do get a closer approach of this polar vortex as we go on in towards the later portion of March. Maybe that will temporarily bring down some snow levels and then warm things back up. Who knows? I mean, we're looking a bit off into the forecast, but we do still have some potential for some active weather as we're going on into the end of March through the early portion of April. So now I'm showing you what I showed you at the beginning of this video here. And again, you can see the higher heights, and you notice how the wind speeds kind of parallel these isobars at 500 millibars. You can see these little wind barbs out there. And again, the lower heights off to the north and west, and the higher heights across the Southwest USA. So anyway, hope that makes sense. Now, if we take a look at the European model, and again, we got precipitation ongoing, sharp cutoff between Oregon and Washington, lots of precipitation across British Columbia, better snow across the higher terrain, definitely versus Washington, which is only on the very highest peaks, very warm air aloft coming across the region, really doing a number on our snowpack. And if we put that into motion, you can see we do get a break here as we go towards the weekend, and we scroll a little bit further out, and then this kind of see we have other systems off the coastline gearing up that may be paying us a visit here next week as well. Now, looking at 5,000 feet, and if I scroll through here, you can really see that we're really having very warm temperatures at 5,000 feet. I mean, we're going about what, 3 days, 72 hours or so with the temperatures at 5,000 feet well above freezing. So it's not good for our snowpack. And then you kind of see things calm down a little bit, and then you can kind of see it bounce back up again there as we go further off into the forecast. Now, looking at Snoqualmie Pass, you can kind of see that as well. Very high freezing levels. When we bring it back down a little bit there, and this is at 3,000 feet, so we're still not even below freezing during this period, but we might get some snow during that time, and then we warm things back up. Another polar vortex pays us a visit here and brings some cooler air back into the region. Now, if we look at the national blend of models, this is going to go out about 10 days, but you can really see again the just intense cutoff between Washington and Oregon and British Columbia, getting some big precipitation amounts. We're now at about 6 days in the forecast, and another system comes rolling through as we go through next week on the national blend of models. That one has a little bit better chance of bringing some precipitation down into the Oregon Cascades, or at least it's something, and then we scroll through the 10-day period. And there we go. So yeah, we still got a ways to go and some more precipitation coming. Washington, British Columbia, then that one system hopefully next week for portions of Oregon. And you can see the big rain shadowing out there once you go to the eastern slopes of the Cascades all the way up into British Columbia, and for eastern Washington as well. Starts to pick up again because these terrain features get a bit higher here. Of course, the Rocky Mountains are out there across portions of Idaho, Montana, and up into British Columbia. Now, total snow in inches on the flip side of that, we'll scroll through here and we're going to go out about 144 hours. And you can see again the much better totals across British Columbia, some of the Rocky Mountains, versus just very scant amounts across Washington, Oregon. Just looks like trace amounts over the next 6 days. And then we go through next week, and that one could bring some better snow to the Cascades of Washington. This is not the big, we would need multiple rounds of this to get, to have any chance of really trying to build back our decimated snowpack, but at least it's something. It shows up there as we go through next week. Anyway, I won't get too excited about that just yet. And you can kind of see over the next 6 days or so, our snowpack is going to take quite a hit, and it is woefully absent there across much of the Oregon Cascades. Now, looking at the Tri-Cities. So this is for March 19th, record high 77 degrees. So if I check on that, let's go ahead and take a look at the national blend of models. Tri-Cities right in here. There's 77 for today, but if we go to the 19th, look at that. We might be breaking some records. Pendleton could be breaking a record. I think Bend, Oregon might be breaking a record here as well. Some very warm temperatures here coming up the next few days. Again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we start to cool things back down, however, and then there's Sunday, Monday, definitely much closer to normal as we go on into the weekend and on into next week. But we do have a few warm days, including today, Thursday, and Friday for portions of eastern Oregon, Washington, before we start that cool down. Now, if I take a little bit of a wider view at Boise, Idaho, some records are going to fall for you as well if you are watching from Boise. And also, I wanted to mention Pendleton's going to get pretty close to breaking records. We'll go to Boise. Look at this on the 20th. I mean, the record is only 74. And if we go back to that and we go to the 20th, you're talking about mid and upper 80s out there. I mean, just obliterating some records in Treasure Valley coming up here. So yeah, pretty intense heat wave for the later portion of March indeed. And again, there's Boise one last time. Now, looking at Yakima, we did get a nice bump here, but we're already, the National Weather Service was talking about this today, about really reducing the snowpack already. So this is probably going to start its downward trend as we look at this tomorrow. And just a reminder, we do have some avalanche warnings up there for some of the Cascades of Washington. You can see the flashing red from northwest Montana as well. And you can see that blue out there. That is avalanche warning there for the west slopes of the Cascades, mainly northern King County, Snohomish, Skagit, and Whatcom County. If I click on that, you'll see that they even give some good details there. Large to very large natural wet snow avalanches are expected. Avalanches that release from higher elevations could run long distances to lower elevations or into terrain that is usually considered safe. So do be careful out there, generally north of I-90 there. So heads up for that if you're going off in the backcountry today. And I talked about this a little bit as well, but also for Southwest Oregon, things warming up quite nicely. Look at Klamath Falls, 76 each day, all the way through Friday. Medford approaching 80 degrees as well. I mean, look at Mount Shasta. California is absolutely roasting underneath this heat wave also. So it is going to cool down, though, as we go towards the weekend. And this is for Boise, talking about that record warmth incoming here as well. They might be underdoing some of these temperatures. The National Blend of Models has it getting well into the 80s there. So yeah, heads up for that. But the cool down will be coming as we go towards the weekend. And duplicate Medford, Oregon there. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Again, you can kind of see us right on the fringe here across Pacific Northwest as we go through March 27th. Hopefully some additional systems will be riding through at that time. And there is that above normal signal there for some precipitation. So cross your fingers for that. Check me out on Patreon and Facebook as well. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, remember to click on that link down below to save 10% off on one. Otherwise, hope you guys are having a good day, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's forecast.